Edward Herbert of Cherbury, 1583–1648, was a Welsh philosopher, poet, and statesman whose ideas laid the groundwork for the movement of deism in the Enlightenment. While his work spanned several fields, his life and thought continue to offer valuable lessons, particularly in the realms of reason, religion, self-reflection, and individualism. Known as the father of English Deism, Herbert emphasized rationalism, religious tolerance, and the importance of self-guided moral understanding. His philosophy invites us to seek wisdom, question established norms, and balance personal faith with rational inquiry. This video explores Edward Herbert's core life lessons and the impact of his philosophical contributions. It will address how his views on reason, faith, ethics, tolerance, and the nature of knowledge can inspire individuals today, providing a framework for navigating contemporary societal challenges. Herbert's journey toward intellectual freedom and moral autonomy serves as a model for critical thinking, personal integrity, and spiritual inquiry in the modern world. 1. Pursuing self-reflection and reason. One of Edward Herbert's most important contributions to philosophy was his emphasis on the use of reason to understand the world. In his work, De Veritate, on Truth, Herbert argued that reason should be the foundation upon which all human knowledge is built. He suggested that every person, regardless of their cultural or religious background, has the capacity to use reason to understand fundamental truths about the world, including the existence of God and the nature of morality. Herbert's view contrasts with the reliance on external authorities, such as religious leaders or dogmatic institutions, that characterized much of medieval thought. He advocated for an approach to knowledge that emphasizes personal reflection, intellectual independence, and the use of reason to uncover universal truths. In this sense, Herbert's philosophy invites individuals to question preconceived ideas and to seek answers through their own thoughtful analysis. Life lesson. The first lesson from Herbert's philosophy is the importance of self-reflection and reason. Herbert encourages us to develop our intellectual faculties and use reason as a tool to understand ourselves, the world around us, and the higher truths of existence. Instead of relying solely on tradition or external authorities, Herbert advocates for an active, personal role in the quest for knowledge. In the modern world, this lesson resonates in the context of critical thinking. With the rise of misinformation and societal pressures to conform to various ideologies, it is essential to develop the ability to think independently and make informed decisions based on reason and evidence. 2. Believing in universal truths. Herbert was a strong proponent of the idea that universal truths exist, truths about God, morality, and the nature of the human soul, that can be known through human reason. According to Herbert, the existence of a benevolent, rational God is a fundamental truth that can be apprehended by all people, irrespective of their specific religious beliefs. In his view, the divinely created world operates according to rational principles that can be understood by human beings through the exercise of reason. Herbert's concept of universal truths laid the foundation for the development of deism in England and Europe. Deism emphasizes that while divine revelation may not be accessible to humans through Scripture, the natural world itself reveals evidence of a rational and benevolent creator. Herbert argued that reason alone is sufficient to discover God's existence, and that human beings can use their intellectual faculties to understand their moral responsibilities. Life lesson. Herbert teaches us that there are universal truths accessible through reason, and that these truths transcend religious dogma and cultural differences. For modern individuals, this lesson encourages the search for common ground, universal ethical principles that can unite people across different backgrounds and beliefs. In an increasingly fragmented world, the idea that fundamental truths can be recognized and embraced by all can foster greater unity and understanding between individuals and communities. 3. Balancing faith with rational inquiry. While Herbert is often regarded as the father of deism, his views on the relationship between faith and reason are more nuanced. He did not advocate for the outright rejection of religious faith, but rather suggested that faith should be grounded in reason. For Herbert, the rational understanding of the world and the divine is not in opposition to faith but complements it. He believed that a rational belief in God was not only possible but also preferable, as it allowed for a deeper and more meaningful understanding of the divine. Herbert's emphasis on rational inquiry in religious matters challenged the prevailing authority of the Catholic Church and other institutions that emphasized faith without reason. In a time when the Protestant Reformation and the rise of scientific thought were reshaping European society, Herbert's ideas represented a middle ground between strict religious orthodoxy and atheism. He argued that humans could know God's existence through reason, and that faith, when properly understood, should be based on rational principles rather than blind obedience to religious authorities. Life lesson: the lesson here is about the importance of balancing faith with rational inquiry. In our modern world, faith often finds itself in tension with scientific understanding, but Herbert suggests that the two can coexist. This lesson encourages individuals to seek a rational foundation for their beliefs, fostering a more informed and thoughtful approach to spirituality and religion. As society increasingly emphasizes scientific knowledge, Herbert's view reminds us that spirituality can still play a meaningful role in our lives when it is based on reason and personal understanding. 4. Questioning conventional wisdom. Herbert was a critic of many established religious and philosophical traditions of his time. He was particularly skeptical of the superstitions and rituals that dominated religious practice, arguing that many of these practices were based on irrational beliefs rather than logical reasoning. In his work, Herbert contended that much of human error came from following traditions without critically examining them, and that only through reason could true knowledge be gained. Herbert's critique of religious institutions was rooted in his desire to reform religion, making it more rational and accessible to everyone. He was an early proponent of what would later be known as deism, which rejected the miraculous and supernatural elements of traditional religions while maintaining a belief in a rational, non-interventionist creator. Life lesson: Herbert's willingness to question conventional wisdom is a powerful lesson in intellectual independence. It encourages individuals to question authority and traditional beliefs, particularly when they are based on outdated or unexamined assumptions. In today's world, this lesson is particularly relevant in the context of social, political, and religious systems that may be resistant to change or reform. By challenging the status quo, we can contribute to progress and innovation, making sure that traditions and beliefs are constantly re-evaluated in light of new evidence and reasoning. 5. Embracing tolerance and openness to diverse beliefs. One of the hallmarks of Herbert's deism was his belief in religious tolerance. Herbert argued that because all religions share certain universal truths, there is no need for conflict between different faiths. In his view, the core ethical teachings of all major religions were essentially the same, and therefore, it was unnecessary to fight over doctrinal differences. Herbert's ideas on religious tolerance were groundbreaking at the time. In an era marked by religious wars and persecution, his call for tolerance and respect for differing beliefs was radical. He believed that the key to a peaceful society was allowing individuals to follow their own spiritual path, provided that they acted according to reason and morality. Life lesson: Herbert teaches the importance of embracing tolerance and respecting diversity in beliefs. In today's globalized society, this lesson is crucial for fostering peace and cooperation across cultural, religious, and political divides. By recognizing common humanity and shared ethical values, we can create a more harmonious world. Herbert's commitment to tolerance also reminds us that we should focus on shared values, such as compassion and justice, rather than getting bogged down in divisive differences. 6. The power of literature and poetry. Herbert was not only a philosopher but also a poet. His poetry often explored themes of spirituality, reason, and morality, reflecting his broader philosophical concerns. He used literature as a means of conveying complex ideas, allowing his readers to engage with philosophical questions in an accessible and emotive way. Herbert's poetic works demonstrate the power of literature as a vehicle for intellectual and moral exploration. In an age when philosophical ideas were often confined to academic circles, Herbert's poetry made complex ideas more relatable to a broader audience. Life lesson. The lesson here is the importance of literature and art in shaping our understanding of the world. Herbert's use of poetry to explore philosophical themes reminds us that creative expression is a powerful tool for conveying wisdom and provoking thought. Whether through literature, art, or music, creative works have the potential to influence how we think, feel, and act. In our modern, media-driven world, Herbert's example encourages us to use the arts to communicate important ideas and foster deeper connections among people. 7. Emphasizing personal integrity and ethics. Throughout his life, Herbert maintained a strong sense of personal integrity, particularly in his public life as a politician and philosopher. He believed that ethics should guide all of one's actions, and that personal integrity was essential to achieving a moral and meaningful life. Herbert's work was not only about philosophical speculation but also about applying moral principles in everyday life. Herbert's commitment to integrity and ethical behavior was reflected in his rejection of hypocrisy and corruption, both in religious institutions and in politics. He argued that individuals should be true to their moral convictions, regardless of external pressures or the prevailing norms of society. Life lesson. Herbert's focus on personal integrity teaches us the value of staying true to our ethical principles, even when it is difficult or unpopular. In today's world, where ethical compromises are often seen as necessary for success, Herbert's example offers a reminder that personal integrity is crucial for building a meaningful and principled life. 8. Life's purpose is to seek wisdom. Ultimately, Herbert believed that the purpose of life was to seek wisdom. For him, wisdom was not merely a collection of facts or knowledge but a deeper understanding of the nature of existence, morality, and the divine. Through intellectual inquiry and moral reflection, individuals could discover the truths that lead to a virtuous and meaningful life. Herbert's emphasis on wisdom as life's purpose aligns with the broader philosophical tradition that sees the pursuit of knowledge as a central goal of human existence. His life encourages us to strive for deeper understanding and to approach the world with curiosity, humility, and a commitment to truth. Life lesson. Herbert's philosophy teaches us that life's purpose is to seek wisdom, not only in intellectual pursuits but also in moral and spiritual growth. In a fast-paced and increasingly distracted world, the pursuit of wisdom remains a timeless and essential goal. 9. Embrace the interconnection of humanity and nature. Herbert, like many Enlightenment thinkers, held the belief that the natural world reflects the order and wisdom of the divine. While not an environmental philosopher in the modern sense, he did see nature as an essential part of understanding the divine order. Herbert argued that the harmony and order we see in nature are reflections of a rational creator, and that humans, as rational beings, can learn from the natural world to better understand their place within it. In his writings, Herbert believed that by studying the natural world through reason, one could come to understand the deeper truths about human existence and the divine. This view suggests that humanity's relationship with nature should not only be one of stewardship but also one of reverence and intellectual curiosity. Life lesson. One lesson we can take from Herbert's thinking is the importance of acknowledging the connection between humanity and the natural world. In an age where environmental crises are at the forefront of global concerns, Herbert's emphasis on nature as a reflection of divine order reminds us to approach the environment with respect and reverence. The study of nature, as both a source of intellectual inspiration and moral reflection, can offer wisdom about our place in the world and the need for sustainable living. 10. Value the importance of personal autonomy in moral decision-making. Herbert was a staunch believer in personal autonomy when it came to moral decision-making. His rejection of blind adherence to institutionalized religion and dogmatic traditions underscores his belief in the importance of personal freedom in the moral realm. Herbert thought that humans had the capacity, and indeed the responsibility, to determine right from wrong based on reason, not merely by following external authorities or traditions. In his works, Herbert often emphasized the idea that every individual should use their own reasoning abilities to navigate the complexities of morality, rather than relying on external forces to dictate their actions. This philosophical stance was revolutionary at a time when the Church and other institutions held significant power over individuals' moral decisions. Life lesson: Herbert's insistence on personal autonomy in moral decision-making teaches us the value of taking responsibility for our own actions and judgments. In today's world, where societal pressures, media, and external authorities often seek to influence our decisions, it is essential to remain true to our own moral compass. Autonomy in moral decision-making promotes a sense of personal integrity and empowers individuals to lead ethical lives based on reason and introspection. 11. Strive for intellectual and spiritual growth over superficial beliefs. Herbert's life was dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge, not just academic knowledge but a deeper, spiritual understanding of the world. He believed that intellectual growth and spiritual development should be closely intertwined. For Herbert, superficial or ritualistic beliefs that lacked rational understanding were not sufficient. His rejection of dogmatic religious practices and emphasis on reason and personal reflection as the basis for belief systems reflect his conviction that intellectual and spiritual growth should be prioritized over external forms of religious observance. Herbert's commitment to seeking deeper understanding through intellectual inquiry and philosophical reasoning was rooted in the belief that knowledge leads to a more authentic and fulfilling spiritual life. His philosophy suggests that true spiritual growth cannot be achieved by simply adhering to tradition or superficial rituals, but by engaging with life's fundamental questions in a rational, introspective way. Life lesson: Herbert's call to prioritize intellectual and spiritual growth over superficial beliefs encourages us to engage in continuous learning and self-reflection. Rather than merely accepting surface-level answers or conventional wisdom, we should strive for a deeper, more genuine understanding of our beliefs and values. Intellectual curiosity and a commitment to spiritual growth can lead to a more meaningful and authentic life. In our fast-paced world, where distractions often encourage shallow thinking, Herbert's lesson challenges us to seek depth in our intellectual and spiritual lives. Conclusion: Edward Herbert of Cherbury's life and work offer rich lessons for contemporary individuals striving to lead lives of intellectual and moral clarity. Through his philosophy of reason, tolerance, and ethical reflection, Herbert provides a framework for navigating the complexities of faith, knowledge, and personal integrity. His emphasis on questioning conventional wisdom, embracing universal truths, and seeking wisdom remains relevant today as we continue to face challenges related to religion, politics, and morality. By integrating Herbert's lessons into our own lives, we can cultivate a deeper understanding of ourselves, our relationships with others, and the world around us, ultimately leading to a more meaningful and enlightened existence.